Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
It's kind of interesting because at the time my book, Forbidden Archaeology, was first published, scientists had a very linear concept of human evolution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was Homo habilis, who turned into Homo erectus,
Right.
turned into the Neanderthals, who turned into humans like us. It was very linear. But they started discovering evidence for other human-like, not exactly like us, but human-like creatures coexisting with each other. They began to add, they found, well, it's not so much that the Neanderthals turned into modern humans, they coexisted with them for some time. And now they've added the Denisovans based on some discoveries that were made in Siberia,
Mm-hmm.
the Russian Federation, at a cave there. And they've also added creatures like what they call the Hobbit from Flores Island in Indonesia. You know, it helps to have a catchy name for
Right.
new species. Yeah, I mean, I think the official name is Homo floresiensis. You know, if I say, you know, hey, they discovered bones of Homo floresiensis, doesn't register, but I say they found the Hobbit in Indonesia.
Right.
Becomes like a whole thing. It's good marketing, good branding. Actually, yes. Of course, I can't reveal their names.
Right.
But there was a very prominent archaeologist in Europe who wrote to me exactly like that. You know, I'm a member of the World Archaeological Congress, which is a big organization of archaeologists internationally. And we were taking part in some internet discussion group that the World Archaeological Congress runs. And he wrote to me on the side, you know, I'm familiar with your work, and I think you're making a great contribution to the discipline. But it's like you said, they can't, if they come out and say that, then they're exposed. I've also had students of archaeology write to me, graduate students of archaeology.
Right.
Right. One of them wrote to me, this is pretty amazing. It said, I was out on an excavation with my professor, and I just happened to mention to him while we were excavating, maybe humans have been around for a little longer than we think. And he said his professor told him, I've got a book you should read. And the professor gave the student his personal copy of Forbidden Archaeology. So when I was writing the book, I was thinking, this should be like an underground classic, kind of the sort of thing, you know, somebody might read it, be interested in it, but not like advertise it. But if he finds out, oh, somebody is a little open to these, and pass it on to him. So I kind of like that idea. An archaeologist from a European country came up to me at a conference, and he said, in my country, the archaeology students are reading your books, and they're getting into fights with their professors about it. So I kind of like that aspect of things. Generally, like when people write to me or get in touch with me somehow, I kind of ask them how they first learned about my work, because I'm kind of interested in the channels by which controversial ideas circulate. Of course, now there's so many ways that ideas circulate, social media and so on. But I find it a fascinating topic.
No, it is, and I know.
Oh yes, and it's kind of interesting that you mentioned the paranormal and UFOs and things of that sort, because that's where this topic of forbidden archaeology leads. Because you might say, well, okay, what difference does it really make if humans existed 10 million years ago or 300,000 years? What's the difference? The difference is that it means if this kind of evidence that I'm bringing to people's attention is accepted, then it calls into question our whole explanation of where we came from. In other words, we need new explanations for our human presence on this planet and in this cosmos generally. So I think these new explanations are going to have to involve consciousness and its very unusual powers, including remote viewing, psychokinesis, all the paranormal aspects of things. And, that's why I've written other books subsequent to Forbidden Archaeology that delve into those topics. Because basically, I think we're undergoing a fundamental renegotiation of our whole picture of the cosmos and our place in it.
This episode is brought to you by Google Chrome. You think you know a browser, but Gemini and Chrome? That's new. It can help you with practically anything on the web, like restoring a vintage motorcycle from a 50-page restoration blog, or finally break down that long article you've had open for weeks. Gemini and Chrome is here for it. Ready to make anything online make sense? There's no place like Chrome. Check responses, setup required, compatibility and availability varies, 18+.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's Omni-Shade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
Right.
And I think the paranormal researchers, the alternative science researchers in general, the UFO or UAP investigators, they all have a role to play in this. Well, there's one that had substantial effect on the whole timeline, general timeline for human origins. And that was the Java Man discoveries that were made in 1892, I think it was, at a place called Trinil in Java. Now, the reason that's significant is the whole concept of human evolution, the way we understand it today, was started at the time that Charles Darwin published his revolutionary work, Origin of Species. And he didn't directly say in that book anything about human beings evolving from apes and monkeys, but other scientists immediately drew that conclusion. So they started looking for what they call a missing link. That would be a being that was intermediate between the ancient apes that existed millions of years ago and modern humans who appear to have come in fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
But, they didn't have a real timeline. So they were excavating and making discoveries throughout the 1860s, the 1870s, the 1880s, but they weren't finding a missing link. What they were finding was evidence that humans like us existed in the very distant past. Finally, in 1892, when Eugene Dubois, who was a Dutch researcher, found Java man, Pithecanthropus erectus is the scientific name he gave to it. When he found those fossils, and they gradually, over the course of a couple of years, became accepted by the scientific community, they were able to fix a timeline, because Java man was found in formations about 800,000 years old.
Wow.
So if you've got the intermediate Java man in 1892 at 800,000 years, then you've got a marker. That means anything human has to be after that, in more recent times.
Right.
Anything that was, and then it became a problem. But what are we going to do with all this evidence that accumulated over the previous decades that showed human beings have been present for many millions of years?
Mm-hmm.
It had to be cast into oblivion, set aside, dismissed on very flimsy grounds. And an example of that, which has always been one of my favorite cases, is the California gold mine discoveries that were reported by Dr. Whitney, J.D. Whitney, in 1880. They were rejected by some scientists who occupied very prominent positions at the Smithsonian Institution and other scientific institutions in the United States. They were rejected simply because they contradicted the Java man discoveries. Whitney was placing humans on the basis of the discoveries that were made in the gold mining region in California in times that went back millions of years. So that was that Java man discovery, Pithecanthropus erectus, was really a key discovery. So when anything human was discovered after 800,000 years, it had to be interpreted in such a way that it fit within the dominant idea. And there are many examples of that right up to the present day, where scientists will find a footprint, say it's completely human in form, but they won't attribute it to a human being because maybe it's found in a layer of rock, say 700,000 years old,
right?
Like some footprints that were found in England a few years ago at a place called Hoppisburg. They found dozens of footprints, and they decided, well, we can't call them human. They are human. They're exactly like the footprints of living populations of anatomically modern humans. But they can't be human because humans didn't exist until much later. So they make proposals, well, there must have been some kind of hominid existing at that time who had feet exactly like modern human feet. So you get that kind of thing going on. Well, I called it forbidden archaeology because it's just not accepted. It's not considered.
Right.
Evidence like that isn't really considered, proper. Something's got to be wrong with it. But this is something that's been understood for a long time by historians of science and philosophers of science, like Thomas Kuhn, who kind of popularized the use of the word paradigm to describe the mindset of a group of scientists at a particular time where they believe they've got things basically figured out. There may be some things that are anomalies, but we can just set those aside, go on with our work, and gradually it'll all be figured out. But that doesn't always happen. Things don't get figured out.
Right.
And the anomalies sometimes become so prevalent and so difficult to ignore and cause such problems that they're eventually compelled to change their theoretical concepts, change their paradigm. It's called a paradigm shift.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mikhail Rothstein was a Danish author, and he published a review of Forbidden Archaeology in the biggest newspaper in Denmark. So it kind of caught people's attention, and it was translated into English. And he kind of said a century or two ago, it was the Darwinists who were getting all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've become the establishment, and it's other people like the authors of this book, Forbidden Archaeology, who are, the troublemakers these days. So that was interesting. As to your question about what price do I think human society has
paid
on the basis of the prevalence now of the Darwinian theory of evolution, I'll have to say, I think that Darwin had some good insights. He had this idea of common ancestry, that there's some kind of selection process going on. Something is kind of modifying itself and improving its adaptation to the world around it. And, I think he was right on the right track there, but he just, because he was a very strict physicalist or materialist person, and he didn't recognize that consciousness was something independent from the organism's body, its brain, its nervous system, that it was something completely different from ordinary matter. He couldn't really see what it was that was actually evolving. So I think what was really evolving is consciousness. Consciousness was evolving through these different bodily vehicles that had been provided for it. So he kind of had a good intuition, but because of his metaphysical commitments, to strict materialism, he kind of missed out. Actually, the co-founder of the theory of evolution, Alfred Russel Wallace, who, when it first came out in the 19th century, the theory was called the Wallace-Darwin theory. Now it's just called Darwin's theory. What happened is that Wallace became interested in the paranormal, and he decided you can't explain consciousness by natural selection and a purely materialistic evolutionary concept. So he became involved in studies of the paranormal, consciousness, and I think the effect of the dominance of the Darwinian theory of evolution has led to society becoming very materialistic. If you can give a person a sense of their identity, you don't have to do very much more than that, because with that sense of identity, a person will form appropriate values, goals, and objectives in life. For example, if, as many scientists say today, we are just machines made of molecules,
right,
in competition with each other for survival, individually and collectively as nations, then we develop certain goals and certain values that lead to a certain kind of life. And so I think that has been one of the big effects on human society, that because we have values, goals, and objectives founded on our sense of identity, that we're purely material beings, our goals and objectives in life become extremely materialistic. And we think that to produce and consume more and more material things is the purpose of existence. And that generates wealth, which flows in a differential way to benefit people who are controlling different financial, economic, political, military, and even religious institutions. Everything is kind of based on that. If we had a different sense of identity, instead of seeing ourselves as machines made of molecules in competition with each other for survival, if we saw, I'm a being of pure consciousness, you're a being of pure consciousness, we're all beings of pure consciousness, then I think we would have a different civilization with a different set of values and a different set of institutions.
I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
I love that answer, and I totally agree with you. And I'm hoping as we continue to go down this.
According to the way that I think and the way that I'm accustomed to think of these things, is we have to understand that a human being is composed of three things, or any organism, whether it's human or animal or plant. There's a gross physical body made of the ordinary material elements, the ones that you see in the periodic table, iron, calcium, phosphorus, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, all those things, which are composed of subatomic particles, quarks, all those different things.
Right.
That's part of what we are. But beyond that, I believe there is a subtle mental energy that can act in ways that appear to violate the ordinary laws of physics, whether we're talking about classical physics or even quantum mechanical physics. And that subtle material body is what is generally manifesting what we would call the paranormal phenomena, like psychokinesis, remote viewing, and things like that. Then beyond that, there's the actual conscious self who is perceiving the activities of the mind. Like I say, my mind is agitated today, or my mind is feeling very peaceful and calm. So, but who is the I, or who regards the mental phenomenon, including the paranormal ones, as mine? Just like I say, my body, my mind. So who is that? That is the conscious self, and that's who we really are. So a lot of what is called the paranormal phenomenon has to do with I believe, with the activity of the subtle mental body. Well, it does it in many different ways. First of all, that's where from the Vedic text, that's where I got the idea of looking for evidence for extreme human antiquity. Without those ideas, I wouldn't have really had any reason to question what I'd always learned from my teachers in high school, university, and so on. I just wouldn't have had any reason to question it.
Right.
And another way that the Vedic ideas have influenced my thinking is that it appears the evidence for human presence goes so far back in time that it leads to the idea that this cosmos has a purpose, and that purpose is best realized in the human bodily vehicle. It's like, say, we build a space station, send the parts of it into Earth orbit,
right,
and assemble it. We don't just hope that in the spaceship, the gases will combine, the chemicals will combine somehow, form some first organism which will gradually develop into astronauts.
Mm-hmm.
We make the space station because we know we have astronauts ready to go up there and use it. So I think our cosmos is kind of like that. It's got a purpose. It hasn't just come about by chance for no reason. And the human form, the human bodily vehicle, also appears to have a purpose. And that is realization of the true nature of the self as pure consciousness beyond the limitations imposed by the gross physical body and even the subtle mental body. So, and then another way that the Vedic texts have influenced my ideas about archaeology is the use of consciousness, paranormal powers, and archaeology. And I have found very interesting cases of professional archaeologists who have used psychic methods, used psychics in their archaeological research. And I gave a paper on that at a meeting of the World Archaeological Congress that was held, it was actually held in Jordan on the Dead Sea, and a few years ago. And at the conference, I gave my talk, and one of the archaeologists came up to me and we were talking, and he said, "I've never heard that before." And I said, "Well, that's why I'm here, to tell you about something you don't already know." You know, because a lot of times that happens.
Right.
You know, people just repeat again and again and again what they already know. You know, people would, you know, I give lectures, have given lectures at just dozens and dozens of universities all over the world, and done probably thousands of interviews. And, you know, so sometimes people would tell me, you know, you're speaking about the theory of evolution. Maybe you're a reincarnation of Charles Darwin. You know, so I would kind of laugh about that. That's funny. But then after some time, I started to wonder, well, maybe that's why I have to give all these talks and write all these books and
right.
do all these interviews. I got to make up for it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, you do get feelings like that. My concept of time is cyclical. That comes from the Vedic cosmology. So there's, according to the Vedic cosmology, there's a cycle of ages. And even the ancient Greeks and Romans had this idea as well, that there was a golden age, followed by a silver age, followed by a copper age or bronze age, followed by an iron age. And things deteriorate as the cycles go on. So I think we are at the present moment, according to the Vedic cosmological calendar, in what's called the Kali Yuga, which is the fourth age. And it is predicted to be a time of increasing environmental and social disturbance.
I think we can see that now.
You kind of see there are tendencies like that. But even though, so to me, the really important time is the present, because that's all that we are really present in. You know, the future is coming, the past has been.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are now at the moment I think that's always the most important time for us, and we're always confronted at each moment of our presence with choices, what to do or not to do. You know, for example, I had the choice to appear on this podcast.
Right.
All the listeners, they had their choice. They could have been doing something else right now. You could.
Right.
Doing something else. But we've all made a choice to enter into this space and try to say something or hear something or do something that is going to be beneficial for ourselves and hopefully for others as well. So I think we always have, I mean, there's a Vedic mantra, you know, that basically says, Asato ma jyotirgama, you know, go away from the darkness and towards the light. So at every moment of our ongoing existence, we have those choices to make. So I was to say, now is the time, go towards the light, away from the darkness.
Amen to that. And that's even...
Well, I think each generation has to work out its own path.
True.
But, you know, I can just give the example of myself, you know, working in the times that I was present and have been present and continue to be present in. If one is interested in these alternative ideas, one basic decision one has to make is, are we going to act within the establishment institutions or outside of them? And I think both options are there. I've chosen to operate as an outsider. I have relationships with archaeologists in the institutions, the universities, the scientific institutions, and so on. But I also have relationships with the alternative researchers, the general public, and others as well. So that's a fundamental decision one has to make. If one's operating as an outsider, one can say pretty much anything one wants to.
Right.
But one has to realize one isn't going to necessarily have institutional support. One will have to find some way to support the kind of activity one wants to engage in. But you're more free to say and do what you want. The difference is you don't have the command the same respect.
The Colonel's cooked up a new $10 bucket of the day just for you. Monday, 24 nuggets for $10. Tuesday, 8-piece fried chicken for $10. Wednesday, 10 wings for $10. Thursday, 8 tenders for $10. Friday, 24 nuggets for... Oh, you guessed it, didn't you? $10. The $10 bucket of the day deal. Every weekday. Only at KFC. It's finger-licking good.
Prices and participation vary while supplies last. Not available on third-party ordering platforms. Tax extra.
The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 50% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Right.
That somebody who's an archaeologist at a major university and has access to laboratories, genetic analysis equipment, huge data processing facilities and all of that. So, but then you're a little bit limited. Basically, you can try to incrementally push things in the right direction. So that's a basic decision one has to make. And then one has to decide who's the audience that I'm trying to reach.
Right.
And what are the best means of communicating with that audience? And what is my message? What is it that I want to say? I can tell myself in a sentence what I'm trying to get across.
Right.
But one has to have some idea like that and be aware of the media that you want to use to reach your audience. So, and it's an endeavor. I happen to like all aspects of what I do. I like researching, I like writing, I like speaking, I like going on the media, I like all aspects of it. You have to be a little bit persistent.
Right, that's for sure.
Well, yes, actually, it's a follow-up book to my classic Forbidden Archaeology, cases that came to my attention after the first book was published. So I'm kind of really looking forward to having it out and available for sale. But kind of at the present moment, if people are interested in my work, we're kind of offering on my website a set of 5 of my books for a special low price.
That's great.
So